With the West continuing to pressure countries into solidarity with Ukraine, few have been stronger in their refusal to toe the European Union's line than Serbia. The country's parliament now says it wants to carve its neutrality into the constitution, while suggesting that all parties should indicate their positions on NATO, Kosovo and economic sanctions, including those against Russia. Serbia has been repeatedly criticised by the West for its neutrality and unwillingness to impose such sanctions.
It's high time for the Serbian government and the president to publicly condemn the Russian invasion in Ukraine. Time of sitting on two chairs is over. Non-alignment with the whole of Europe on this will put Serbia in self-isolation.
Serbia urgently needs to return to democracy and the rule of law. This includes fully condemning Russia's aggression against Ukraine and joining the ranks of its European partners.
It's a neutrality that has been called into question at the European Parliament, with some members calling for the suspension of Serbia's EU accession talks and financial support if it does not fall in line with EU policy. Then, in mid-March, EU official Marko declared Serbia would pay for being on the wrong side of the conflict. On Tuesday, the operator of the Croatian oil pipeline said it would stop transporting crude for Serbia's oil and gas company. Despite the pressure, Serbia has remained steadfast in its neutrality, and pro-Russia rallies have frequently taken place in Belgrade. We discussed how Serbia is coping with pressure from the West with Marko, a commentator in international affairs.
Serbia is in a very difficult position because it is surrounded by NATO and European countries, but the policy that Serbia is following is the same policy followed by practically all the rest of the world outside the Western alliance. So Serbia has the right, like the rest of the world, to make its own policy. It is not a member of the European Union, therefore it is not bound to follow a common EU policy. We have sanctions here and we have war here, and it's a fact that the US will wage war against Russia to the last Ukrainian, and it will wage economic war to the last European, because the US at the moment is the beneficiary of splitting away Europe from Russia, of making Germany and Russia each other's opponents. This is something that the US has been trying to do for a very long time and has succeeded. But the US has also succeeded in waking up the rest of the world against it, because the rest of the world understands that the battle that Russia fights is an existential one for everybody against a parasitic control by a Western elite, which has never been good for those other countries themselves. This is why those other countries are not sanctioning Russia as the West is demanding. Those countries, those Western countries who want Serbia to sanction Russia are the same Western countries who sanctioned Serbia, who demonized Serbia, who illegally bombed Serbia. Why should Serbia listen to them?
Thanks for keeping us company here on RC International. We'll be back at the top of the hour with the latest. See you then.